Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Bold and the Beautiful. Taylor Twist Thomas dies, and Mom gets his heart. Bold and the Beautiful sees Taylor Hayes' health has left us on the edge of our seats. But I can't help but feel skeptical about where this plot is headed. With Thomas Forrester returning home, I worry that he might be dragged into this sketchy situation in a very bad way. Could we be looking at a tragedy where Taylor dies? Or maybe no one dies? Or someone else dies instead? Let's dive in and explore the possibilities. On Bold and the Beautiful Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig needs an expert. She confided in Lee Finnegan, Naomi Matsuda, about feeling tired and off during her workouts. She revealed that her primary care doctor had diagnosed her with heart failure and given her a grim prognosis. When Lee asked if she had seen a cardiologist, Taylor admitted she hadn't. This raises a red flag. Since when does a general practice doctor deliver a death sentence without referring the patient to a specialist? Yes, Taylor is a medical doctor herself, but she's a psychiatrist, not a cardiologist. Lee offered to send her some referrals, so I imagine Taylor's outlook might improve once she consults with an expert. Bold and Beautiful fans consider Brad Bell may recycle an old plot or sacrifice a character ahead. Now that we're in the midst of this life-or-death storyline, could he be planning something even worse than killing off Taylor? Like sacrificing another character to save her? Remember when Katie Logan, Heather Tom, needed a heart transplant? Her brother shot himself at the hospital so she could have his heart. I don't see anyone going to such extremes for Taylor. But could Brad be considering killing off Thomas to give Taylor a chance at life? Thomas has been off-screen for so long, and fans keep asking about his whereabouts and Matthew Atkinson's status with the show. Bold and the Beautiful spoilers haven't given much to go on. Could Brad be tired of those questions and quietly writing Thomas out, as he did with Wyatt Spencer, Darren Brooks, and Quinn Fuller, Rena Sofer? Or maybe Thomas is destined to die, donating his heart to his mother in a tragic twist of fate. Another possibility is a redo of Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang, and Stephanie Forrester's Susan Flannery emotional death scene. Brooke recently expressed a desire for a genuine friendship with Taylor, echoing the moment when Stephanie, who had always been at odds with Brooke, died in her arms. Many fans are worried that Brad is steering us in that direction, and it's not a popular idea. Then there's the frustrating Eric is dying storyline from not too long ago. Suddenly, after surgery by Finn and Bridget Forrester, Ashley Jones, Eric was cured. No chemo, no hair loss, just back to martinis and marrying Donna. Could Brad be attempting another fake-out twist with Taylor's story? The world of the Bold and the Beautiful has always been defined by its thrilling drama, intense love affairs, and shocking plot twists. But nothing could have prepared the Forrester family, or the fans, for the ultimate heartbreak and the extraordinary, unexpected turn of fate that would forever alter their lives. The unthinkable happened. Thomas Forrester, the troubled but talented designer, met a tragic end, and in a bizarre and haunting twist, his mother, Taylor Hayes, was given his heart. It was a fateful day in the Forrester mansion. The air was thick with tension as the family gathered to celebrate another triumph at Forrester Creations. Everyone was on edge. Rich was still torn between Brooke and Taylor. Steffi was navigating her complex feelings about Liam and Finn. And Thomas, as always, was simmering with unresolved anger. But behind the scenes, something far darker was brewing. The tragedy began innocuously enough, with Thomas in his design studio, feverishly working on a new line that he believed could elevate Forrester Creations to new heights. However, his obsession with perfection led him to push his limits beyond reason. One late night, during a design meeting with his team, Thomas collapsed, his heart giving way after years of emotional and physical stress. Unbeknownst to everyone, Thomas had been battling a condition that weakened his heart, and despite his arrogance and bravado, the truth of his fragile health had always been kept under wraps. His collapse sent shockwaves throughout the family. Ridge, Taylor, Steffi, and even Hope rushed to the hospital, fearing the worst. The once indestructible Thomas, who had been at the center of so many family dramas, was now lying in a coma, fighting for his life. The doctors did everything they could, but the truth was grim. Thomas' heart was too weak. A transplant was his only hope, but time was running out. As the days passed, the Forrester family grappled with the crushing weight of the situation. Ridge, torn between his past and present love interests, was beside himself with guilt and anguish. Steffi, determined to maintain her composure, struggled to keep the peace among her family. But it was Taylor, devastated by the thought of losing her son, who found herself at the epicenter of an unimaginable twist of fate. Taylor had always been the voice of reason, the calm amidst the storm, but as a mother, her world revolved around her children. Thomas' condition had deteriorated rapidly, and the doctors delivered the gut-wrenching news that Thomas' organs were failing. But they had an option, an unthinkable one. Taylor, a match for Thomas' heart, could donate hers in a desperate bid to save her son's life. In the weeks leading up to the fateful decision, Taylor had been coming to terms with the complicated dynamics of her family. Her rekindled love for Ridge, her strained relationship with Steffi, and the ever-present shadow of Brooke had all made her question what she truly wanted from life. She had been so focused on everyone else, so consumed by her desire to heal her fractured family, that she had failed to realize the gravity of what was happening in her own body. In a moment of utter despair, Taylor made the decision that would forever change her life, and Thomas's. She chose to donate her heart to save him. It was the ultimate sacrifice, one only a mother could make. And as she lay in the hospital bed preparing for the surgery, Taylor's mind raced. Would this bring her family back together? Would it heal the wounds that had festered for so long? Or would it tear them apart even more? The operation was a success, but it came at a great cost. Taylor woke up from surgery to the bittersweet news that her son had passed away. His heart had failed despite her efforts, and now, with her own heart transplanted into his body, Taylor was left with a gaping hole in her chest, both figuratively and literally. The funeral was a somber occasion, but it was also one of reckoning. Ridge, Steffi, and the rest of the Forrester family struggled to come to terms with the loss of Thomas, who, despite his many flaws, had been a cornerstone of their lives. His death left a void that no one could fill. But as Taylor stood at the gravesite, holding her chest where Thomas' heart now beat within her own body, she realized the weight of her sacrifice. She wasn't just grieving for her son. She was grieving for the loss of a life she had once envisioned, a life where her children were happy, healthy, and whole. The twist didn't end there. The guilt of her decision gnawed at Taylor as she struggled with the reality that she was living with her son's heart. Was it a beautiful connection, a reminder of her love for him? Or was it a haunting symbol of the pain she would carry for the rest of her life? In the days that followed, Taylor began to experience strange sensations. Heartbeats that didn't feel like her own vivid dreams of Thomas, and an overwhelming sense of his presence. She couldn't shake the feeling that he was still with her, in a way that no one else could understand. It was as if his spirit had somehow merged with hers, and as the days turned to weeks, Taylor found herself at the center of a haunting, surreal experience. Her behavior began to change, and those closest to her began to notice subtle shifts in her personality. Was it the transplant? Was it the emotions tied to the organ that now beat in her chest? Ridge was the first to recognize something was off. He watched as Taylor, once a pillar of strength, seemed to lose control of her emotions. At times, she would lash out at him or Steffi in a way that was unlike her. She would cry for no reason, overwhelmed by grief and an inexplicable sense of anger. It was as if the very essence of Thomas was still inside her, influencing her every move. Was Thomas' heart, in some strange way, exerting its influence over Taylor? Was it possible that the memories, the emotions, and the desires of the man she had tried so hard to save were now coursing through her veins? The entire Forrester family found themselves drawn into a web of confusion and chaos as Taylor grappled with her grief, her newfound power, and the unspoken connection she now shared with her deceased son. The lines between mother and son, between life and death, became blurred, and no one knew where the madness would lead. Was Taylor truly moving on, or was she being consumed by the heart of the son she could not save? In a final twist, it became clear that the events surrounding Thomas' death and Taylor's sacrifice had changed the Forrester family forever. Relationships were tested, loyalties were questioned, and no one, not even Taylor herself, knew what the future held. All that was certain was that the heart she carried within her would beat for both her son and herself.